Hello, everybody, and welcome back once more to Anime Yay or Nay. I am TheOutbackAl.
I'm Yin&Jung.
I'm Chibi Noob.
I'm Envy Jitters.
I'm CheerandCosplay.
And I'm Kozi.
And Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year!
Yes, New Year, new us. Not really.
No.
We're still the same bunch of idiots you've been listening to.
I was gonna say, I'm like, we're still the same stooges. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. But we're watching other things, newer-ish things. This is pretty recent, right?
2018?
Recent enough. There was like 3 years there that all counted as 1 month, I think, recently.
Right.
So we're picking out a couple of movies for this year because really the big thing that we're going to be doing soon is the tournament, the Maho Shoujo Showdown, where we're going to fight 32 different teams of magical girls, which stay for the end. I'll announce what some of those are going to be, and then we'll do that. But that's going to be a little bit down the line. We're going to ease our way into that with some nice, fun, easy movies to just hang out and watch. We took a bunch of recommendations. This week, we took Kozi's recommendation of Maquia, the flower... Hang on. I should have had this ready.
When the promised flower blooms.
Thank you. That is why it was your movie. So, since it's your movie, why don't you tell us a little bit? Like, when was the first time you saw this?
So, originally, they released the song, and it got a lot of people's interest, and then they released the trailers for this. And because I had already heard the song, I was following along to see what the project was. So I waited for this to actually come out, and when it first came out, it was region locked to Japan for like 7 months after it released. So we were over here like crying. But it's really about like motherhood with a lot of really diverging undertones of other serious topics.
Yeah. How long did the song come out before the thing that you guys are waiting?
Good question.
I'm trying to get an idea of like how long you guys were like getting hyped for this, and then they were like region locked for another 7 months.
Oh, I was definitely following along with the project for like a year.
Oh, okay.
But I know that they had definitely started advertising before that.
Okay.
Like they had a bunch of like concept art and stuff, and I do not know who the studio is, but I know I recognize the studio's animation.
PA Works.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that song, like, man, emotional damage.
I mean, that's definitely something you could say about this movie.
I was about to say, Kozi, you didn't give me a permission slip. We're not back in school. I didn't go on this permission slip. I didn't get a permission slip for the field trip.
It was not signed by an adult.
So I was not on the call when you guys were like talking about it. All Cece asked me was if I had any recommendations.
And you did.
Yeah.
I did not know it was supposed to be like a nice, easy movie to sit down and watch.
When do I ask for recommendations?
I was going to say, that wasn't really one of the criteria points for what was being recommended.
No, yeah.
I don't even think it had to be anything we liked. Like, it's just a movie.
It just needed to fill the week.
I mean, to be fair, with that conversation started with what's a horrible Christmas movie we could watch.
Yeah.
But,
True.
And it kind of changed into some other things. We won't bore you with all that. It's Patreon content, but yeah.
But like, this movie had definitely, when it got released in English, Cece wasn't even home. Were you in Disney?
Yeah, I was at Run Disney.
Yeah, she was trying to, like, check up on me because I hadn't been in a great mental space, and I wasn't responding because I was so obsessed with trying to watch this movie, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, shut up, I'm trying to watch Maquia. And that was all she needed to know, because that is how much I had been following this movie.
She had probably had the worst mental break I had ever and to this date have ever seen her go through, like 2 weeks prior.
Was that?
Yeah. Yeah, because this was like mid-January, because it was on birthday, and that happened on New Year's. So I was already concerned about leaving her home alone, and then she like wasn't answering her phone for a couple hours. I'm like, I need you to be okay.
Probably not a great movie to watch while I wasn't okay. But I don't know if any of you guys went back to watch, like, the trailer. The trailer gave you both everything and nothing on what this movie was going to be about.
Nope, I did not know a thing about this movie. I didn't watch the trailer. I just simply was told to watch this movie for this week, and I'm glad I went in knowing absolutely nothing because, yeah, this movie got to me. Like, I rarely cry in any form of entertainment, and this movie got me to cry at the end.
I have, like, 3 specific instances in this movie, like 3 specific scenes. I usually, at the very least, tear up at. Except for this time, because we watched it in the dub, and I'm so sorry, you guys. I know you all said you also watched it in the dub. You are missing out.
Me and Yin chose to do dub because under normal circumstances, I feel like a lot of other people in this group are like, we watched the sub. So I at least occasionally try to have that, like, oh, well, here's what I thought of, like, this other. And now it's like, is the only time that I could have watched the sub, and now everyone watched the dub. But
I mean, to be fair, I put it in Crunchyroll,
The dub was what was available.
and it automatically came up, the dub, and I recognized some of the cast members, so...
So, I had the option to watch both, because I watched it on Tubi, but I was in the middle of doing chores and a lot of other things last night, and my eyeballs were starting to fog over. So, me reading text from a screen is not possible at that point.
So, I'm not, like, saying, like, because Envy even said, like, obviously it still got a pretty emotional reaction out of everyone. I'm not saying it's bad, but the sub is so much better. There's so much more emotional impact. Like, the scene where the dog dies, which, put that up on that one site. Does the dog die? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
That is one of those moments that I normally, like, start crying at. And, like, I was sitting there with Cece and I'm like, oh no, the trauma, the upset, I can't. Like, I did not feel that same impact. Like, I am sure the voice actress tried her best, but, like, the Japanese voice actress for Maquia, like, you feel that horror that she goes throughout this movie.
I find that going from, like, Japanese to English there's generally, like, for whatever reason, American or at least dub, like, vocal tone is always usually very flat, in comparison. So at this point, I've kind of given it a little bit of leeway because when I was a lot younger, I used to be very nitpicky about it. But yeah, I can kind of see how that definitely would affect, like, maybe how it's, you know, coming across or being, like, projected, I guess, is how I'm trying to say that.
That, and some of how they chose to, like, translate and localize it was just really bizarre. Like, the scene where Ariel's talking to Lang and he's like, I'm gonna be her father instead. Again, that, like, took me out. Like, the sentiment was supposed to be, she has been there protecting me my entire life, but now I'm going to be, like, her guardian and protect her from the world. Because it's a world that very much is not accepting of what she is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, no, I will say, like, I was also like, that line is a bit cringe, but I think it gets the sentiment across, but just in, maybe it could have said it a different way, but I'm not sure if they were just trying to meet the lip flaps, or if there was maybe another sentence they could have used.
I feel like it's always a combination of something like that.
I mean, I'll take your word for it with the sub, but I didn't have a single problem at all with the English cast. I got the same amount of emotion that you probably got watching the sub, watching the dub, and usually I'm a sub guy too, but for some reason I just felt like it worked for me. I guess that's where we'll have to agree to disagree.
Well, so it sounded like it worked for all of you, and I'm wondering how much of it didn't work for me because I had something to compare it to. And this is also an interesting counterpoint to bring up with Cece, because I have pretty active commentary running, especially if it's something I'm familiar with. And Cece, how deeply emotional did you feel at points?
Yeah. I have told Kozi multiple times that children growing up is like the saddest, most depressing genre for me.
So you hate Toy Story. You hate Toy Story, I'm assuming. Like Toy Story 4.
I haven't seen 4. I refuse to watch
3.
it.
Are there kids in
3,
that one?
yeah.
Yeah.
All I remember is Duke Kaboom.
There are children in it, but
They're
I
not
would say
important.
it's... Yeah.
No.
Yeah, 3 I will still cry at. So, like, if I had watched the sub, it probably would have hit me much harder, but I didn't cry, mostly because Kozi was like, oh no, this is so tragic the entire time. So I was able to see the humor in it, and it kind of pulled me out a little.
Sounds like going to a haunted house with me.
So I did also, when she put it on, I looked straight at Cece and I'm like, I need you to promise me when we hit this one scene, if I tell you this is not hitting the way it should, we need to switch, that we'll switch. She was like, yeah, no, because I don't want to go look for it in the sub.
Yeah, we had it on Amazon Prime, and I don't know if they had subtitles or not. From what I could tell, it was just the dub. Like, I don't want to search for this. It's here, we're watching it.
I didn't cry, but I think it's more of an element of I'm just emotionally stunted. So take that how you will.
Yeah, I didn't think you would cry, but I was very curious. I wondered if you liked this.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Oh,
actually.
I love this movie. It's like in my top 10 favorite anime movies now.
I like this quite a bit. I will say that, like, while I wasn't, like, fully, like, sobbing, I teared up at a few points, probably near the end. I don't know, maybe, because a lot of this I felt was also kind of, like, aside from motherhood, but also, like, the thing about, like, people in your life, like, kind of, like, leaving, and sort of, like, a little bit about death and dying, and kind of, just sort of how, people in your life will leave, even when you don't want them to, and it can be really heartbreaking. Like, that's all sort of stuff that I've thought a lot about, not, like, recently, but, like, just for the past several years. It's kind of just, like, concept I'm kind of comfortable with, so I feel like if I didn't have the kind of thought process about that sort of thing that I have, probably would have been full-on sobbing, but yeah.
Like, this movie, like I said, it has a lot of undertones that diverge in so many different paths. But I mean, it really feels like it covered a lifetime, because those are all things you would deal with in a lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it starts off with a tragedy because of what happens to Maquia, and then throughout her life, she both loses and gains something, but then also realizes that, yeah, emotional attachments are hard, but it's the time that we spend with those attachments that makes life worth living. And it's just like, damn, you got me deep, Shrek. You got me real deep.
Yin, were you gonna say something?
Oh, yeah, I was mostly just gonna agree that, like, I felt similarly to you. I didn't cry or anything, but I did think it was really touching at a lot of points. Some of the themes reminded me a lot of Frieren, and that's one of my favorite shows right now, one of the mangas I really like. I don't know if it took inspiration from this or something, or I don't know if they even came out around the same time, because the manga's a little older than the anime. But, yeah, just like the elf who lives like a long, long time and sees like the world passing by, and the friends and family dying and things like that. So it reminded me a little bit of that, and I liked it. And the animation's really beautiful. So I enjoyed all of that a lot, and all the themes about loss and grieving I thought were really good. So I liked it for a lot of similar reasons that you did.
To put a bullet point, Frieren came out in 2020, the manga.
Yeah.
So it was way after. So I don't know if it took some inspiration, but I could see similarities.
Having not seen Frieren, I think I said to you that I was getting a little bit of like the elves from Lord of the Rings, like Galadriel and some of the other ones who are kind of like, they're in the world but also detached from it.
Yeah, definitely in the beginning, like when they were showing their village and everything, it felt a lot like Lord of the Rings type of
like,
elves.
Is this where they go when they like sail east?
Yeah.
And like into beyond and all that?
that was one of the major things, though, is like, you have this mysticism and they're the clan of partings, or in English, I think they said they're the clan of the separated.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you have Maquia and Lelia who really diverge from that, and they really come into their own and live life. But then, like, the rest of the Eorfs, they remain separated, and they're not really living, they're just recording.
Kind of like the Watcher
Yeah.
from Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a lot of personality later on.
I mean, that is the moral question. If you can live for tens of thousands of years, would you kind of be like, yeah, I don't want to get close to people because they're going to die in like 5 minutes in my life. So do you want to deal with that over and over again?
I mean, I kind of think it depends on the person. I feel like after a certain point, like, if you kind of sort of accept that death is a part of life, like, just sort of enjoying the time you spend with the people, even if, like, they're only in your life for, like, not even if, like, you're together until, like, their death. Like, I would say, like, the time that you spend together, again, is still way more important than any of that. Yeah, it'll hurt, but it's, like, a kind of hurt to let you know that they meant something to you.
Yeah, one of those, like, at the end, it's you had to learn, don't be sad because you had to say goodbye, be happy that you got to know them.
Which is why I think that's one of those things that I think they just kind of dropped the ball on, because I feel like the original meaning is clan of partings, not clan of the separated. So, like, clan of the separated does give you kind of a different feeling than clan of partings, I feel like.
You meant the dub dropped it. I thought you were like, I thought the movie did a really great job of this.
Oh, no, sorry, yeah.
I see what you're saying.
But, like,
no, go ahead.
Yeah, the words are very different for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like separated, again, does imply, like, that isolationist, like, we are withholding from feeling even, whereas partings is, like, an acceptance of, we are more long-lived. We will meet these people, and they will be gone before us. Or even, we have these relationships and people that come into our lives and then leave, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to talk about the actual plot?
I was gonna say.
That's probably important.
The important plot is about a person who was a mother too soon and who raised a child and then saw them die before they did. And that's the real plot of this movie. There's a whole lot of subplot about, like, empires and Game of Thrones type shit going on, but that's not what's really important when at the end of the day. Here's the thing. I want to say first off, this is a masterfully made movie. I absolutely, from an animation standpoint, and like a tone and visual storytelling and all this stuff, and even, like you mentioned, like the songs and that, I think the score is great, but I also think it's fantastic when they know exactly where and when to use and not use music, because there's a couple scenes that are like almost in complete silence later on in the film, and I'm like, ooh, this is so good, and like, and it just is heightened somehow without music a little bit. The only hiccup I think they might have had, and this is really just a nitpick, the dragon walking on the bridge during the parade, it's not good CGI there. But it's like only one scene. It's only one scene. So that's really my only hiccup with the film.
Okay, but like, Krim running up and stabbing it looks so funny.
Yeah, and yet it still works. I think this thing has a masterful use of like tone and especially like the visual storytelling, because this takes place over like 7-8 decades or so.
Yeah,
and
pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, I would say our main thing is only like maybe 20 to 30.
Yeah, but still, even that is a good amount of time for what, a 2-hour movie. So the thing that I was actually really impressed with that the movie was able to do, and this isn't something that I feel like a lot of people normally think about, but when we had certain time skips in that, there are certain characters that are coming in and out, supporting characters mostly, who are living their lives all off screen between these like decade-long time stretches between, you know, the last scene and the next one. And yet when they're reintroduced, I feel like through visual storytelling, the minimal dialogue, and just like some of the stuff that's going on around them, even though I haven't seen what their life has been like, I know exactly what they've gone through and where they are in their life at that point. And I think that's amazing to be able to do in less than 10 seconds for each of these characters.
I mean, I feel like that's a little bit true to life because, you know, when people come out, like go out of your life and then they come back in and suddenly it's like, holy crap, look at you! And, like, granted, they'll tell you, like, what's been going on for, like, the past however many, like, days, weeks, months, or however long it's been since you've seen them, but it's kind of like, you know, context clues and a lot of other things, but yeah.
But I think that it's sometimes not as easy to do in a visual medium because you don't have, like, the entire world around you that's kind of, like, working with it. Because, like, the world in general does not visually change very much. We change locations, we can't change a couple things here and there, but, like, as far as, like, a technological age or anything like that, it stays pretty consistent from start to finish. So the only real changes that we see are in the actual characters. And to be able to... And again, we don't really know these characters like they know each other.
Kind of in, like, the same vein, they're really good at, like, juxtaposing something they've showed us earlier with something taking place later.
Yes.
And setting the scene and the tone to really hammer home the differences. Like, the most obvious, I feel like, is the parade on the bridge, and then the same parade followed up, like... 10 years later, and there's, like, no one there. It's empty.
They don't even have a real dragon.
Yeah.
I was thinking a little bit with, and I mean, I guess this is a sort of a start and end of a story arc for her, but, like, Lelia at the beginning and the end, and the jumping scenes, yeah, you are very different people at those points.
Even jumping off of that, Maquia, same outfit, beginning and end.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different vibes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was actually, because I've thought about it a little bit since I watched it, because I didn't, like, watch it right before we got on or anything. It was, like, what, yesterday or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had a little bit of time to marinate, which is good. I was thinking in the middle of the movie, this is really great. These are really good characters, all this sort of stuff. This shouldn't have been a movie. This should have been a 26-episode series so we could see all the Game of Thrones stuff going on in the background. I think by the end, I was like, no. This was the exact right amount that it should have been. This is, like... Because, like, at the end of the day, and I think even the movie and the people in it realized, no, the Empire doesn't matter. It never did. But it kind of has that... There's a theme in Game of Thrones and in some other shows like The Sopranos and that, where it's like, do you... change with the world and try to continue to improve yourself, or do you cling to the past and inevitably become buried by it?
The only nitpick I have with the movie and the plot is this. I don't know what they're called, the dragons or whatever the hell they're called. The only complaint I have...
Renato, yeah. Just call them dragons. That was a little weird.
Yeah. The only complaint I have with the movie is that they introduced the whole disease thing with the dragons. They kind of really don't go anywhere with it. Like, all of them but one dies off, and that's the one that they escape with at the end of the film. And I guess it's kind of a metaphor to, you know, you're escaping your trauma, you're escaping your disease and your captivity, and they're free. But, like, I felt like they kind of put, like, a emphasis on the disease, and they kind of never really addressed it.
I think that's a failing of the dub again, because it was implied that the red eye was a disease that was coming from them being shackled. Which is why at the end of the movie, did you guys watch the post-credits? Because there was, like, a little...
Yeah, there was a little shot at the
after
end.
Credits, like, not necessarily scene, but, like, a shot.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Renato lives.
Yeah.
It doesn't die. It doesn't get disease. It was never a disease.
Yeah.
It was a mythical, magical creature that had no business being contained in the world it was being forced into.
Yeah, and it was only after that world was essentially crumbled that it was able to be free. And I think that kind of goes back into the thing of, like, you will either live with the world that is and is becoming, or you will die with the world that was.
That answers my question then, because that was not said in the dub. So yeah, that makes sense.
There was a scene on the ship they cut that I really wish they wouldn't have, because Krim and the other Eorfs don't just kind of, like, gently accept that Maquia is raising Ariel. They kind of rip her a new asshole about it.
Was it a deleted scene, or...?
It was deleted from the dub.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel a little cheated now.
But, like, in the dub, when he just kind of gently is like, as long as you remember what the elder said and you don't get too attached, I'm like, no, they were supposed to be like, why are you letting him call you mother? He's not one of us. You can't be with him.
Damn.
And they just didn't have that at all. Which I feel like that really set up, like, Krim as an antagonist right then and there.
That would have, yeah. Because
Which you don't really get as much of.
I mean, like, he's definitely, I don't want to call him a villain. It's a little bit hard to say that. But he's, like, a character that you kind of have to sympathize with a little bit. Because, like, you understand where he's coming from and why he's sort of gone down the path that he's gone down. I think, yeah, that would have been a very helpful scene to kind of establish where he had been much more. Because he does seem kind of chill still. Like, when he's part of, like, the resistance of Eorf people. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
He
like,
seemed pretty normal, and then all of a sudden he kind of like
He
snaps Maquia.
yeah, I was like, why?
Oh,
that's
what?
Okay, so again, kind of what he said to Maquia there was like, you know, implying like Krim is there representing everything the Eorfs used to be.
Mm-hmm.
He's clinging to that past.
Yeah.
He wants to go back to it. And he resents Maquia for moving on. But, like, he's the ultimate symbol of that. You're gonna get buried by this, and he does, quite literally.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, I think that's why it's a thing in, like, Game of Thrones and The Sopranos, and it's like, honestly, it's been a theme since, like, the Renaissance of, like, Memento Mori, remember you will die, and, you know, ashes to ashes, all that sort of thing. It's happens to everybody. You will either stick to your ways for so long that you become destroyed by them, or you will change with the world around you and learn to live. And Maquia learns to live.
There is another thing that I would have to rewatch the sub to see if they cut this or if I'm just like misremembering it. I feel like they had implied Maquia had a crush on Krim, which is why she started crying when he gave Lelia that flower in the beginning.
I mean, it kind of...
Which was like another added layer to it.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe?
I can see it. I don't think I was thinking about it, but I could see it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, and I guess, like, the dub doesn't really, like, lend itself to that angle. Because I was more under the impression that she was... When she started crying when Krim gave Lelia the flower, I was more under the impression that she was just crying because it was just reminding her that she was lonely. But that's like...
It's just that she's lonely.
Yeah, it's just kind of that... Well, after talking to Elder Racine, and that sort of scene probably just like further like hitting the nail on the head that she's always gonna be alone, I just definitely was like, that's how I took that scene. And maybe, like, an added layer if she had a crush.
Yeah, and then her two friends look like they're moving on without her.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like maybe the crush thing would have also, like, made it hurt quite a lot more. For sure.
Yeah. I
would have to rewatch the sub.
Okay.
This might have just been where my head was at, because I was immediately, like, sucked into like a Lord of the Rings moment. But I was almost wondering, is she just crying because it's so beautiful and that's what elves do? They're that like, look at this single tear that falls, and like it, so do the lives of so many humans. It is so sad. and then they just stare at like the sky for 3 months. Let's be real, immortal elves are fucking weird. So.
They appreciate so many tiny things, but they don't really give a shit about life.
It's like, look at you. You will be gone in the blink of an eye. I'm 15. I will be around for at least another 80 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The blink of an eye. I feel like I'm just doing...
I mean...
If anyone watched Fantasy High, the Dimension 20, I'm just doing Fabian's grandfather, who is just such a weirdo.
Yeah. But, you know, going back to the film, I do think that the strongest thing, by far, about this film is the relationship and the connection between Maquia and Ariel. Like, from their literal beginning, where she rescues him from the corpse of his dead mother, which is dark as fuck, to their final goodbye at the end of the film. I thought that whole, to me personally, I thought that whole relationship from start to finish was beautifully executed.
That is another. They dialed back on some of the sound effects. Like in the sub, the cracking of those fingers was like what they honed in on.
I mean, the dub still had good cracks, which is weird to say about a dead corpse, but
yeah, I felt like the cracking was good, but I also had to turn the volume up on my TV quite a bit in order to hear anything. So.
There was a little bit of a mixing issue, I think, at least with the version of, I think, that we watched. Sometimes it was a little bit low, and sometimes then the music would come in too loud. It's like, sometimes things are not mixed well for TV and stuff.
No, it was definitely on our version too, so. We normally keep our TV, like, consistently on a 15 in terms of volume. I think we had to boost it to, like, a 23.
Yeah, I normally keep mine anywhere between, like, a 2 and a 6, and I had to turn it up to 20. Oof. Yeah, I don't know. It was like that on my downstairs TV, too. I, like, had to turn it up kind of high, and I'm like, God, I really hope my neighbors aren't mad at me.
Yeah, I think maybe there was just some mixing issues with the dub.
Al, I was really curious about your reaction because I feel like the opening sequence kind of alludes to a lot more action than we actually see. Because you have them coming in on the dragons, committing genocide, the whole flight and destruction of the village. And then it's kind of calm.
Yeah, no, I didn't have an issue with that.
Until the end.
I mean, that's kind of the thing, is that we're following characters who are not themselves like warriors or anything like that. This is the point of the movie isn't the war itself. The war is just going to happen. Bad things happen in life, unfortunately. And a lot of people make them for not great reasons. But it's also like, I don't want to keep going to like, this too shall pass. There were many things that once were that are no longer. Like, I'm stuck on a kick right now. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised by that because like Maquia's not, especially like right then, was not going to be someone who's going to like grow up and to then go fight and stuff like that. And it wasn't supposed to be that kind of story. So, I mean, I think part of that was why I was thinking in the middle of the movie, I'm like, this could have been like a 26 episode Game of Thrones anime kind of thing. But then again, by the end, and it kind of like brings back all of the stuff that was going on in the beginning, and then the entire through line through the film between her and Ariel and everyone else, it kind of comes down to, no, this is the important story. Because the thing is, the Empire wasn't important. As important as they wanted to be, in the grand scheme of things, ultimately they were, again, just another blip. Just another tear in the fabric of the much longer story and the much longer tapestry.
Yeah, at the ending, you didn't care about whether the Empire survived. You just cared about whether or not Ariel was going to die in the army, and thankfully he doesn't.
I did have a dark
Yeah.
thought so I kind of said to Yin, as, you know, because the baby's being born, Ariel's over fighting in the war and all that, and I'm like, you know, Maquia found Ariel in his dead mother's arms. What would happen if Ariel died and then the mother died in childbirth and then Maquia just has to raise this kid? And then that kid grows up and eventually learns what's going on and leaves her and then goes to start their own family. But then both those parents die and she again raises another. And it kind of turned into like
it's just a vicious cycle.
A very like, you know, old school German fairy tale. Like of a cursed family forever being raised by this immortal child. I'm glad it didn't go that way.
When we got to that point, Cece was like, "Oh my god, is she gonna go steal that kid too?"
Yeah, it was the same thing.
Honestly, my biggest fear was the child being stillborn or dying in childbirth, because like I know they didn't have a lot of options, but like I felt like the way they were trying to make her go into labor and give birth was like, I don't know if you're doing this right. It seems very dangerous for you to give birth like that, but I'm a guy, so I really don't know if that's the right way.
No, that's how they did it in ye olden times.
Yeah, they had to give you a rope.
Yep.
A rope, a bit of wood to chomp on.
That was pretty typical, I would say. From what I have actually heard, because of where I work. So, apparently, in some countries, they still use the rope method. for giving birth. I definitely know, and I guess it's at least like modern Germany has done that, at least in modern times, to still use that method.
Yes, because giving birth on your back is actually really inefficient and one of our biggest leading causes of complications.
Yeah, which
the
honestly,
reason it's popularized is because some king had a fetish for watching his wife give birth.
Yeah.
Henry VIII?
Quite possibly.
I feel like he had so many wives. It's just a highlight.
did.
He had 8.
Yeah, super horny dude.
6.
But yeah, it's just kind of like someone needs to tell somebody about all of the inaccuracies in period pieces for giving birth now. But I guess it's because of like expectations that's what they put on screen for a lot
But
of
anyway,
things.
not to put us on a
go
tangent.
on.
That was just my biggest, like, wow, Ariel was about to and they tricked us with that one cut where like he's battling the one soldier and they cut it to where the sword or the spear goes through and then they cut to black. I'm thinking, okay, I'm pretty sure he's gonna survive, but if they decide to kill him, that'd be a dickish move to kill him like that. But I'm glad he survived.
My other thought during that scene, when what was her name? Dita, when she was giving birth, and she was screaming, and she was like, just make sure the baby lives, don't worry about me. I'm having such a bad time. Ah!
Yeah.
It's like, okay, is there actual complications, or does she just not have an epidural?
And I know
that.
and I know they did this just for the drama, but it was really funny. Like, literally as soon as Ariel went off the battle, like his shadow is from the property line. She instantly is into labor. Her water breaks, and it's just like, well, that's typical.
To that, I say stress can induce labor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like,
Also,
the
plot will
birth
do that
and
too.
labor was kind of
It's a
Maquia's
plot-induced
final
labor.
step to motherhood.
Yeah.
Okay, so safe to assume we were all pretty yay on this.
I think so.
Yeah.
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 Real quick, there was another thing I was kind of divided on. I don't know how I feel one way or the other. How did you feel about the whole Layla thing at the end? Because, like, she complains throughout the film that she just wants to see her daughter, and then at the very end of the film, she's like, yeah, I saw you. I'm going to go try to kill myself now. But then I got lucky, so I got saved by Maquia.
No, she wasn't trying to kill herself. Maquia shouted up to her. That's why she jumped.
To jump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't hear
I
that.
thought that was
I
in
didn't-
her memory.
No, Maquia yelled, "Fly, Lelia."
Yeah.
Which is why
well,
she
it's-
jumped.
Which was a mirror of what Lelia said to Maquia at the beginning.
Lelia, yeah,
Yeah.
at
Jump.
the beginning.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
I thought I really thought at that point Lelia had lost it, and that was just in her head.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because, like, nothing for nothing, she has had a shitty fucking time.
Yeah.
True.
I think you were supposed to think that until you see the Renato flying up with both of them. And then you're like, oh, no, it was real.
Yeah, my thing was, like, I was kind of understanding of, like, oh, she's completely lost it at this point. I am not surprised that she's doing this, so I didn't really feel, like, bad that she had decided to do that. I was kind of a little like, when she was like, don't worry, daughter, forget about me, because I'm going to forget about you.
Well, that was my thing. It's like she spent the whole movie trying to reunite with her, and then she just kind of gives up on her.
At the end, she realized she's not compatible with that world, and Medmel didn't take anything from her, and she knew that. Like, there was nothing she could give Medmel as a mother at that point.
I would agree with that. I feel like, and at this point in the movie, I also feel like it's just kind of like, I feel like they were both sort of attached, even though they never really saw each other. But like to sort of let go of their pasts is kind of what they need to do to be able to like move forward. I think is kind of what that scene was also trying to say, maybe.
Yeah, like, as much as they're attached, like, they've just been kind of sitting and suffering through the same exact trauma in different places.
Mhm.
And the people they've been suffering at the hands of are dead. So, hey, Medmel, forget all about this place. Forget about me. Go live your own life now. You're free.
I guess maybe it's an execution thing for me then, because I feel like that sentiment absolutely is great. I think maybe would have hit me better as a conversation between these two characters, and not like a last-minute thought shouted from the back of a dragon that's flying away.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought.
That's kind of where I'm at with, like, I didn't like that.
The words were changed again for the dub.
Okay, alright, yeah, maybe the dub's not so great.
I mean, I feel like maybe just the context of, like, what was said for the dub was probably, it felt sort of like a rushed thing, but in the context of what that whole little blurb was, like, the sentiment is, it fits with the movie.
Yeah, like, again, I think it's good. Maybe would have liked to have had them, like, actually talk before she jumped, maybe, and had that actual conversation. You know, it doesn't have to be long, but, like, I don't know.
The nurse maid, nanny, lady in waiting.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what she was.
One of
Nurse
those.
maid.
She doesn't address her as Lelia. So Medmel quite literally does not know who she is.
Yeah.
Until after she tells her, I'm Lelia of the Eorfs, as she's like jumping. Like her whole sequence there was supposed to be, I am Lelia and I can fly. So like Medmel didn't have any clue who she was until like she literally jumped.
Yeah, so I'm like, literally you just realize this person's your mother. Oh my god, they're jumping off a building. And I'm just like, you are going to have so much to talk to your therapist about, if they exist at this time. They don't. I know they don't.
I mean, I kind of got the feeling that they had never actually met, just given based on other conversations that had been had throughout the movie.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely it.
But it's just kind of like, how they wrote the conversation was more giving the impression that they actually, like, knew who each other were.
I just kind of feel bad for the I don't know, something about it just, like, I feel like from the girl's perspective, she just met this woman. Oh my god, you're my mom? Oh my god, you jumped off of a building? Oh my god, you're riding on a dragon and you're telling me to forget that I ever met you and that you're never gonna remember anything. Okay, this is a lot. You know what? I'm gonna go inside, I'm gonna have a cup of tea. The people who just took over our capital are gonna, you know what? Today's been a lot. This is just one more thing, I guess.
Or you just completely disconnect. Because you don't really care, because you don't know her.
I think so. She's completely disconnected. Like, oh, we could have had some sort of relationship, but I guess we never will.
I am almost positive Medmel knew her mother was being held in captivity, and she had since learned at that point she was definitely raped to be conceived. Like,
Yoy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think... I think Medmel knew she had a mother, and I think she knew that, you know, she can't see her. For what reason? Maybe she didn't know, maybe she did know, but, like, I think...
Positive she knew.
They had a conversation about it when she was maybe 10, it looked like. She was like, how's my father? And the nurse was like,
Busy.
your father, he's busy. He's like, and my mother. She's like, you cannot go see your mother. You know that. Don't ask about her.
And, like, she already would have been, like, facing abuse because all they wanted out of the child between an Eorf and the royal lineage was for that child to bear any kind of, you know, signs that they were part Eorf, which she obviously didn't. So she has spent her whole life knowing that what they tried to force from her mother, they didn't get. In that they were actively trying to find other women, Eorf women, to get this.
Yeah, everything's kind of just shitty.
Like, Medmel could have had her own 26-episode series.
Yeah, honestly, like, I feel like other than the Eorf, because, like, especially Maquia, because, like, again, I think it's a perfect story for them. I probably could watch a 26-episode thing of, like, most of these other people's lives.
I
Like,
was actually telling Cece, one of my major things is, like, I know the story was about Ariel and Maquia, and we wrapped up their story succinctly. It was great. It was, like, a perfect ending. There are so many people I want to know what happened to, though. And
yeah,
some people that I wanted to see get a comeuppance.
Yeah,
like, I
the
know
prince
part of
and the
Lilia's
king.
thing there was like, I'm letting this go. Like, the past isn't gonna affect me. But, like, oh, I really wanted someone to kick that general in the dick.
he is a captive at the end.
fuck that guy.
So he is a POW at this point
I
for the
don't
enemies.
care.
It's
Yeah.
something.
I don't care. Almost all of Lilia's suffering was directly at his hands.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen what happened to Lang after, the battle if he survived. And we really didn't get much of the little brother, like Lang's brother, much after the time skip. So that would have been
Dale.
interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lang did survive. It said
Yeah.
him and Ariel, like at the end, they would talk about Maquia all the time.
I guess
Because they
forgot
moved back
that.
into that house.
Yep.
Yeah, that is true.
Oh, that is something they did add in the English that was not in the original. So when we were watching it this time, about in like the first half, I was like, oh wait, that's the house from the ending. I don't think I've ever realized that before. And then we got to the ending and then they were like, Lang helped us move back. And Cece looked at me and she's like, you never picked that up? I'm like, no, that was not the conversation before.
Maybe that is a good addition then.
Yeah, that one I think I'm fine with.
Yeah.
And apparently it's hard to notice that that's the same house.
I mean,
I just don't think I was paying attention, honestly.
Well, I'm gonna be honest, that was the first thing I noticed. I'm like, oh, they moved back to his old house.
Yeah, they're in the countryside with the bridge and everything else that was like they'd been to a bunch of times. I mean, that's where she meets her grandkid.
And I don't know, I guess like maybe coloring and lighting, but I figured that was the same place.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, it had just never clicked for me until I was, like, staring at it again. And I'm like, that is the same house, that's the same field, that's the same path. I do like the psych out they did with the granddaughter.
Yeah.
Where, like, you thought that was the daughter for a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it goes full Freerin.
And then it's really sad.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the whole final conversation that they had, and then her saying, I'm gonna break my promise, I'm gonna cry. That's what got me to cry. I was like, damn it, I'm holding these tears. I can't hold it in anymore, damn it.
And as I start playing the song, like, oh, God. They knew how to get ya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good movie. I don't know if it's one that I would watch on a very regular basis just because, like, kind of heavy, but good-ass movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain movies that you can only watch maybe once or twice because you hate to feel that depressed all the time.
Would definitely say, if any of you feel inclined to coming back to this, please give the sub a try.
Okay. That sounds, yeah.
So even though we were watching the dub, I also had subtitles on.
Mm-hmm.
And normally I don't do that because I think they usually keep the subtitles from the sub and not the subtitles from the dub, so they don't match up, and that bothers me.
Yeah, they need
This
a
one-
closed captions thing.
Yeah. This one they didn't do that, but there were a few points where they said the wrong character was speaking.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Maquia in captivity, and it subtitled it Lilia
Lilia.
humming. I'm like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Tubi did that too.
Ah, they're baked in wrong.
I think they probably just provide the closed captioning and they're just like, oh, we'll just put this here because you're supposed to assume it's this person. But it's not.
The animation was pretty, the backgrounds was pretty, but I didn't really like how they drew faces.
Yeah.
I guess that's just an art style I don't like, but they all look kind of swollen at times.
That's the,
Yeah.
like, hallmark of the studio.
Oh.
Yeah. Still look great. Other than a couple like little hiccups here and there. Looked great, so yeah.
When Ariel came home, at the end to meet his child, he was like, well, you, might have just lost use of one of your legs. Your mom just abandoned you. And your newborn child looks like a yam. What else?
They've definitely got, the studio's definitely gotten a lot. The studio's definitely gotten a lot better with faces with some of their newer stuff in recent years.
Yeah.
Sorry, that caught me off guard. They did Buddy Daddies last
No,
year,
I mean-
and that was
It's true,
and
the
that was-
baby was pretty ugly.
Just a little flesh blob.
Yeah. Other than that, full yay though?
Yes. I assume.
Yeah, I'm a full yay.
Yeah, it's a yay for me.
Yeah, I would say this is a yay for me.
It's a high yay for me.
Yeah, give it a yay.
I mean, obviously, I'm a yay. I'm the one who recommended it.
That's
You
true.
can recommend things you don't like, just for the sake of
Yeah,
ruining
Cece does
people's
it all the
days.
time, but that usually gets your privileges revoked.
Recommend.
So,
Yes.
you know. Let's see if anyone else's privileges get revoked in the next few
What?
No.
weeks. We have someone else.
Actually, I have a question.
What?
Did CC select a movie?
Yeah. No. Wait. No, you
No.
didn't. I
I
guess you
didn't.
didn't. All right. You know what? Privileges still revoked. Speaking of people who selected stuff, Yin, yours is next week. It's Inu O. Can you give us a little blurb about that? What's it about?
Yeah, so it's an anime musical that's about an unlikely friendship and I guess just like the power of music and art to overcome differences, things like that. I think it's a really interestingly made film. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a film that I would normally like spring to mind to like recommend to everyone, but I think I wanted to because I find it a very like unique film. But I think it's not necessarily for everyone, and I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorite anime movies of all time, but I think it's like so different from a lot of what you see that's why I'm recommending it.
So your privileges may be revoked.
My privileges may be revoked. I don't know, but
I have actually seen this, and I love it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think it is really
seen
good,
it?
but I can see how it might not be to some people's tastes, I guess, is what I meant.
Okay, so come back next week and then see what other movies we're going to be watching. And you know what, while we're here, I'm just going to say what the first 8 shows are going to be in the Mahou Shoujo Showdown. We're going to have Revolutionary Girl Utena,
Yay!
Futari wa Pretty Cure, Panty and Stocking, Demon Girl Next Door, Shakugan no Shana, Magical Destroyers, Grand Belm, and Magical Girl Spec Ops Asuka. That's the first 8. There are 24 others that we will
Damn.
sprinkle out throughout the week. And I think the last week before the tournament, we'll actually give you the brackets and let you know who's fighting who in that. So hope you guys are looking forward to that. Hope you guys are looking for the other movies that we're going to be watching this early part of the year. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye!
Hey, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon for notifications. If you enjoy this video, give us a like, and if you haven't already, check out some of our previous episodes, our daily gaming videos, or our parody series Madoka Magically Abridged. See you next time!